Gripen versus Russia's Su-35, the dogfight Ukraine needed. In the skies over Ukraine, Russian Su-35s hunt with brutal confidence. Their twin engines roar with power. Their long-range missiles stalk targets from beyond visual range. Too many, they seem untouchable. But what if Sweden's underdog, the Gripen, joined the fight? Born in the shadow of Russia's threat, the Gripen was designed not for dominance but for survival. Agile, cunning, and hardened by a doctrine of fighting outnumbered. It represents everything Moscow fears. A small jet that fights smarter, not heavier. The clash of Gripen versus Su-35 isn't just a matchup of machines, it's a collision of philosophies. Could Ukraine, armed with Gripens, turn the tables in the air war? Before we continue, where are you watching from today? Comment below. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the battle for the skies became one of the war's most decisive fronts. At first, many expected the Russian Air Force to establish dominance within days. With an inventory that included modern fighters like the Su-35 and Su-30SM, Moscow appeared poised to sweep Ukraine's older fleet of Soviet-era MiG-29s and Su-27s from the skies. Yet reality proved far more complex. Ukrainian pilots, flying outnumbered and often in outdated jets, used cunning tactics, ground-based air defenses, and sheer courage to deny Russia uncontested control of the air. Even so, Russian Su-35s emerged as a persistent threat. With their powerful radars, long-range missiles, and thrust-vectoring engines, they pushed Ukrainian fighters to the edge of survivability. To this day, the Su-35 remains one of the most feared aircraft in the theater, its presence forcing Ukraine to adapt every sortie with extreme caution. This imbalance has led to a recurring debate. What if Ukraine were equipped with more modern Western fighters? Would the outcome of the air war change? The US F-16 has often been the centerpiece of these discussions. But another aircraft, smaller, lighter, and often overlooked, has quietly emerged as a candidate that might be even better suited for Ukraine's unique battlefield conditions. Sweden's JAS-39 Gripen. The Gripen, whose name means griffin in Swedish, was born in the Cold War as Sweden's hedge against a Soviet invasion. Unlike larger NATO members, Sweden could not rely on vast numbers of jets, massive air bases, or foreign reinforcements. Instead, its designers crafted a fighter to survive against overwhelming odds. The Gripen was built to be refueled and rearmed on highways in minutes, serviced by ground crews with minimal training, and armed with advanced electronic warfare systems that could jam or spoof even the most formidable enemy radars. In short, it was designed as a survivor. Contrast this with the Su-35, Russia's heavy twin-engine fighter that represents the pinnacle of Moscow's brute force philosophy. The Su-35 boasts raw speed, long range, and an arsenal of air-to-air missiles designed to destroy opponents before they can close the distance. Its massive Urbisi radar can detect targets far earlier than Ukraine's older fighters, and its thrust-vectoring engines allow it to perform maneuvers that seem to defy physics. To Ukrainian pilots, facing the Su-35 is like stepping into the ring with a heavyweight champion. Every move must be calculated, because one mistake could mean death. Yet brute force is not invulnerability. As powerful as the Su-35 appears, it is not without vulnerabilities. Its size and heat signature make it detectable. Its reliance on centralized bases makes it predictable. And its pilots, though skilled, operate under rigid doctrines that sometimes leave little room for improvisation, against an adversary designed to exploit those very weaknesses. For Ukraine, the Gripen offers something the F-16 and other Western fighters cannot: seamless integration into a doctrine of dispersed survival. Ukrainian infrastructure has been under constant missile and drone attack. Large airbases are prime targets. Gripens, however, do not need sprawling runways or vulnerable support hubs. They can operate from short, rugged strips of highway, moving unpredictably and staying one step ahead of Russian targeting. More importantly, they come equipped with some of the world's most advanced electronic warfare suites, allowing them to disrupt the very long-range missiles that give the Su-35 its edge. This sets the stage for a clash that feels both hypothetical and urgent. Gripen versus Su-35. David versus Goliath in the skies over Ukraine. One represents raw power, heavy metal, and the brute traditions of Russian air power. The other embodies cunning, survival, and the principle that adaptability can outwit size. If Ukraine had Gripens, the dynamic of the air war could shift dramatically. The introduction of Gripens would not only alter tactics but also the psychology of the conflict. For Russian pilots, long accustomed to hunting vulnerable Ukrainian jets, the presence of an adversary capable of jamming their radars, dodging their missiles, and fighting back on equal terms would be unsettling. Confidence, after all, is as much a weapon as missiles or cannons. For Ukrainian pilots, flying Gripens would mean more than survivability. It would mean hope. It would mean stepping into the cockpit not as prey but as predator, with a machine designed to fight outnumbered and still win. The broader strategic context makes this potential clash even more symbolic. Sweden, now on the cusp of NATO membership, has designed its air power philosophy around resisting Russian pressure for decades. Ukraine's struggle against Moscow is not just about territory. It is about proving that smaller nations, with ingenuity and discipline, can resist overwhelming force. The Gripen is the embodiment of that philosophy in metal and fuel. To place it in Ukrainian hands would be to declare that survival through adaptability still matters in the age of trillion-dollar programs and high-tech giants. As we begin this story, the stakes are clear. The Su-35 dominates the skies with fearsome presence, while Ukraine's existing fleet fights bravely but at constant disadvantage. The Gripen, underestimated by many, could be the key to leveling that imbalance. This isn't simply about comparing jets, it's about comparing worldviews. Brute strength against agility, raw power against cunning survival, the heavy hammer versus the nimble blade. The dogfight Ukraine needed is not just a clash of aircraft. It is a clash of philosophies, and one that could reshape the future of air warfare far beyond the skies of Ukraine. Ukraine's skies are stalked by Russia's Su-35s, heavy and deadly. The imbalance leaves Ukrainian pilots fighting uphill battles. But Sweden's Gripen, born for survival against the odds, offers a new vision, a jet that could turn the hunted into the hunter. The Su-35, Russia's sky predator. When Russian pilots climb into the cockpit of the Su-35, they strap themselves into one of Moscow's most formidable weapons of intimidation. Born from the legendary Su-27 flanker family, the Su-35 represents the pinnacle of Russia's brute force philosophy in air power: bigger engines, longer range, heavier payloads, and unmatched agility at close quarters. To many, it is not just a fighter, it is a predator built to dominate the skies. At the heart of the Su-35 are its twin Saturn AL-41 F1S engines, each producing more than 30,000 pounds of thrust. With thrust vectoring nozzles, the Su-35